Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going through the wire and loom, what's involved with removing and refitting the main bulkhead wire and loom. That's the main difference between the two engines, other than the engine loom itself, but that's its own thing. So as you can see here, I've actually refitted. This is the V8 wire and loom, so all back in, giving it all a really nice clean. I managed to get it all back in fairly easily, and what I've added on this side is I've got a 4-way big high current fuse block here. I've also got 2 additional wires here which are all bunched up at the moment. They're going to be for going to have some gauges in the car, so I want oil pressure and I want water temperature gauge. There may be some others as well that I want to run at a later date, but that's it for now. The main one is oil pressure for now, so I'm going to get that in and working for now. The water one will just sit there until I have time to get a gauge. The 4 main feeds into the car so I've got all my auxiliary lighting, I've got flashing amber beacons and stuff like that, and CB radio and everything, all just bits like that. I just want to have their own separate proper feed. It's all well and good tearing off the cigarette lighters and stuff like that, but there's only so much current they can take. So while I had all the loom out, I decided to run a load of wires through the original grommet, which I can tell you now is not easy. So I decided to go on this is a UK car, so the right hand side offside grommet as it goes through. They are sealed, so obviously they've got tape around them to seal them, but they've got bonded rubber inside them, so it's quite tricky to actually force wires through, but I managed to do it, persevered, managed to do it. So I've got 4 big fat power feed wires and then 2 signal wires for my gauges. So they now at the moment come up through here, so my plan is they're going to come somewhere in the middle of the dash. I've got to work out exact routing and stuff, but they'll come up somewhere here, and then I'm going to have my control panel and stuff in the middle there, in place of where you normally have 4x4 screen. I don't have that, so basically the wire and loom swap is as easy as I thought it was going to be. It's fiddly, it's definitely fiddly. You'll end up with scratched hands and stuff. So as you can see here, I have actually removed the entire dash, both sides. It's quite a lot of work in that, but probably only 4 or 5 hours worth at most, maybe probably 3 or 4 really. You don't actually need to do that, as I found out whilst taking the V8 one out. You can do it with just removing these bottom panels here on both sides. You can reach all the plugs you need, you can get the fuse board out, you can get to everything on both sides with just removing these bottom bits. So that's really handy. It saves a lot of time. I think I managed to get the main loom out of the car once I disconnected everything forwards of the bulkhead. Internally I managed to disconnect it all and get it out in about half an hour, so it's really easy. As I suspected, where the loom goes through the bulkhead on both sides, they're all on plugs, so it's all easily removable, and the internal looms car to car are exactly the same, so all the plugs, it's just literally plug and play. So that's really helpful. So with regards to what you actually need to remove and to swap to do this sort of thing, so obviously the main loom as it goes across the outside of the bulkhead, both sides it goes down through the wheel arch, comes out there, that then goes to the chassis this side, and then up and over, and that goes off to the headlights and all that lot. Same on the other side, exactly the same, loom plugs there. So once they're all disconnected, you can then start looking at removing inside bits. The main bit you need, which I didn't actually realise until I removed it, this inner fuse board is actually a module. It's what's known as the body control module loosely. So that has actually got, you know, its own computer system inside it. As a result, there is obviously a lot of plugs on it and associated with it. So that is one thing you have to swap between the cars. So I'm the list of things I'm swapping, obviously the loom itself, that inner fuse board, the under bonnet fuse board as well, mainly because that is just part of the loom. You could disconnect it and change it, but why would you bother? It's one bolt to get it out, so that just goes with the loom. That's been swapped across. The air suspension module here, which goes up that side there, up under there, just one bolt on top holding it on, and then that lifts off. Really easy to get out. And then the other thing is the ABS module. Now, a lot of people online, when they sell kits, as it were, loom kits, they just sell the whole ABS unit. I guess for them, it's, you know, for breaking a car, it's a lot easier just to cut the pipes and then just sell it as one unit. My actual ABS unit is much nicer and better condition in this car than it is off the V8, and this one, you know, I don't really want to go into disturbing all the lines and stuff, so I actually removed the module from the ABS unit and swapped them. As far as I can tell, I don't see that being a problem. All the electronics side of it are housed within the module itself. It's only the solenoids and a couple of little plugs, but no actual sensitive electronics inside the unit itself. So in theory, swapping them across should work absolutely fine, but time will tell when I start it. And if I have to swap actual ABS units back, then that's fine, I'll do that, because the ABS unit is one of the modules you can't reprogram. You can program a new one, a brand new one, you can program it to your VIN, but once it has learned a VIN, it cannot be reprogrammed, apparently. So that is one thing that has to definitely go across. Largely the same with the body control module as well. I think probably if you tried hard enough you might be able to do it, but certainly there's no knowledge out there really of how to do it, so it's just easier to swap it. Air suspension, they are interchangeable and reprogrammable, I believe. You know, they are known for going down every now and then, so they must be replaceable. Again, I don't know if it's a whole thing where once it's learned the VIN once, it then can't be reprogrammed to another car. So for the sake of one bolt, I've just swapped it across. So that's easy enough. Fun enough, the hardest bit about the whole refitting, as it were, was the feed for the rear washer fluid comes through the wire and loom there, and that is just a joiner just underneath, just under here. You can get to it when this fuse box out of the way. Pulling it off is obviously easy enough. Putting it back on, because it's such a short tail, you just can't hold it and you can't get your hands in there to do it. So I've actually ended up adding an additional segment, so that I basically extended it so I can then at least get access to it and push it together nicely. So that's now done and sorted. So you've got this fuse box here, so you've got these two big plugs up here. They're not on at the moment. They're two things I've still got to fit. One of these, I can't remember one, I think it's this one, goes with the engine or the bulkhead loom, and this one stays with the car, as does this one here, which goes underneath here. So I think it actually goes through there, but it goes underneath there. There is this plug as well, which plugs in underneath there. On the back there are two long plugs about that big, and the way you undo them, they're on these sort of latch type ones. So at the moment when they're locked in, the latch is down towards all the wires, so all you do is you push those latches up and that will then release them. And there's two plugs. They can only go in their own correct socket. They're pegged in such a way they can't be put in the wrong way around or anything, so that's nice and easy. But obviously you can't see them, so you have to do it by feel. You then got various plugs down here that will need removing, but the easiest thing to do is to remove the fuse box. So you've got two 10mm nuts here, and then this pulls forward and then drops down. It's just on two little pegs at the top, which just go into some little rubber grommets, and then that's it. You know, then you can come down, then you can undo your plugs at the back, and then this will come down and out, and that's all you need for that. You know, obviously it's quite nice and open here without the glove box and stuff, but with the glove box folded down you can have perfect access to all this, so you don't need all of this off, as I found out. So yeah, so once that's out, so these plugs here work. You've got just these two little pinch things here, so you pinch them and then that releases them, and then they just pull off like that, and then the same to put them back on. Do that locks them in place just like that, nice and easy. You will end up getting very scratched hands. Everything down there is sharp, it's right pain, but it's actually not that difficult. So yeah, it is what it is. What else? I've had a look, so going back to the kit, well, not kits, but where people sell the looms on eBay and stuff from breaking cars, they always seem to include the immobiliser ring. Now, I never really understood that, because my understanding of the immobiliser ring is it's a slave sensor, therefore it's dumb essentially. It doesn't have CAN-bus input output in it or anything like that. It's it sends a signal to the ECU, which then decodes it and sends it off as CAN-bus stuff. And I've had a look at it, and it's just a 3-wire sensor, so I don't see any need at all to be replacing it. So my plan is to leave it, and if I have a problem, then it's not that difficult to replace. And my plan with regards to keys and immobiliser and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to basically make a bit of a Frankenstein key to get it started. So I've obviously got the key from the V8, that worked, it started the car no problem at all. Obviously the actual physical key itself won't fit any of the barrels in this car, but the keys are very easy to split and take the key part out. So I'm going to use the main body of the V8 key, but the actual key part of my key, so it should fit all the locks, and it should immobilise or remove the immobiliser from the engine. That's the plan anyway. Hopefully it works. If that does work, both keys are a bit on the knackered side. My plan is to get there's a company called Pixels Fixed, and they'll come and code and cut a pair of brand new keys to your car. So once I know it all works, they just need a key to copy basically. So then I can then give them that key and just have two nice new keys made for it, which will just be a lot better. There's no jiggery pokery and stuff. So I think that's probably about it really. Let's say it's not a daunting task at all. I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was. I was really worried the loom as it goes through the bulkhead was going to be tied into all this loom on the dash, and I was going to have to remove all of this and try and remember where it all goes. It's really not. And even getting the loom back in has probably taken me about between half an hour and an hour really. And that's with cleaning everything as it goes in, and so yeah, it's not hard at all. I definitely didn't need to take the dashboard out. I'm glad I have taken the dashboard out because there's other things I want to do, as say adding all this extra wiring and stuff like that. It's just a lot easier with it all out. The other thing obviously to swap is the clocks. They need to swap over, but that's easy enough. There's loads of how-tos online. It's not difficult at all to remove them. You don't need to remove the dash at all for that, so that's nice and easy. Yeah, so I'm just going to carry on and get all the modules hooked back up again. There is a module under the driver's seat. It's the Harman Kardon sound system amp, essentially. I have removed that, but I'm not entirely sure I needed to, and I might put it back. So that all that audio system, and same with the radio, I'm unsure as to whether or not that's going to work or not, or whether that's going to throw a hissy fit. It doesn't really matter either way, because I've got the other radio and I've got the other Harman Kardon system and stuff, so I can swap them if I need to. But actually I'm going to leave the original ones in as a test to find out if they throw a wobbly. So they're on the medium speed CAN system, and I don't know if that sort of stuff is VIN locked. I don't think it is, because a lot of that stuff is easily replaceable and upgradable, and plenty of people, you know, as amps die as they do and stuff like that, plenty of people do replace them with second-hand units and stuff. So I don't think that will cause a problem, but certainly for getting it on the road, it's not going to cause a problem enough to stop it driving. And if I have to replace it, you know, it's 8 bolts to replace the whole lot, so it's not hard. So yeah, so I'm going to just carry on, get this all done. Going to try and get the fuel tank swapped over. That's another big job. I've also got to take the lower arms off the V8 one and put them on this, and then do all the brake lines on this, swap over the brakes from the Range Rover as well. So there's still lots to do. I think potentially the flywheels are only about a week away, so there's a chance I might actually be once the flywheel turns up, it won't necessarily be going straight in. I have still got other stuff to do, which I didn't think would be the case, but we'll see when it actually turns up. But yeah, so I think that's sort of summarised everything. So thank you for watching. Hopefully it's been a helpful video, this one. If anyone wants to, you know, is looking to do this, it's really not a daunting task. Give it a go. It's not hard. And actually, I'm doing this almost slightly arse about face way. So I'm putting the V8 and all the hard electronics side of it into my car, being a manual. Really, you know, if you wanted the same finished product, you'd be much better off just buying a manual box. You know, they're not expensive, they're 350 quid or whatever for a manual box. Take your auto out, put your manual in with one of my flywheels and stuff, and then hopefully I will have a solution for the transfer case module with regards to whether it works, whether it doesn't work, and the such like. But doing this, so putting the wrong engine in my chassis, is really not the way you do it. I mean, I feel as though it may be the way it's done potentially by other people now, because the diesels are so unreliable. You're far more likely to have a blown up diesel chassis than you are a good V8 chassis. So the V8s command over double what the diesels do. So if you're looking to do this as a project from scratch, then you're not going to go out and spend 8-9 grand on a V8 to then spend a load more money modifying it. You're more likely to spend 1,500 quid on a blown up diesel and then spend another 1,500 quid on a V8 engine. The problem is then you've got to then get all the wire and loom and all the modules that are associated with a V8. It doesn't have to be that engine, as far as I'm aware. As long as you have all the modules that are all tied together in one vehicle. The engine can be different, you can swap engines without problems. So yeah, I don't know what's going to be more common. You know, I might be the only crazy one stupid enough to do it, but we'll see. I've certainly had some interest in from other people about doing this project, and also I'm hoping that it's going to help people. It's quite a big market for people fitting manuals to XK8 Jaguars, S-types, all that sort of stuff. Anything with that V8 engine, whether it be all the way back from the 3.2 variant. A lot of what I'm doing should be relevant to that, should be relevant to mating a manual box. Okay, it might not be the Discovery diesel box, it's probably going to be a Jag S-type diesel box, but as far as I'm aware they're basically the same box, so in theory it should all transfer across. And if anyone's in the middle of that and is willing to either give me some dimensions or to allow me to take dimensions or flywheels or anything like that to verify whether that would work on a Jag XK8 or the such like, then feel free to just fire me a message. You know, I've got it all on CAD, I've got all the measurements from the V8, from the 2.7 diesel, from the gearbox, everything, so I can work out whether it's going to work or not. So hopefully that's going to help some other people out, and yeah, so thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, give it a thumbs up. Hopefully it's been a nice helpful video, and drop a comment. I've had some useful comments, feedback and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really nice to see people engaging with it and finding it fairly useful. So thank you very much.